We're live. All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of LA WhipCon Virtual 2021. An interview today with Aaron Kelt Adams. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Don't adjust your cameras. I am not another Johnny
No,
Ive.
no, similar haircut,
Similar
similar.
haircut.
I like it though. Um, yeah, so if you haven't seen the other interviews, this is basically an effort to help bring the whip making and whip cracking community together. This year, with a pandemic, we are all having to do everything virtually and stay social distancing. And well, honestly, I just miss people. So
Ah, I feel you
we're
there. I feel you.
right. So we'll get together and and I've been having chats with lots of different people all across the whip community. And today I would like to talk with you and find out a little bit about what you've been doing and what this year has been like for you as a whip maker and whip cracker. So, for those who don't know you, tell us just a little bit about yourself and what your experience is.
Well, as we all know, I'm Aaron Adams. Kelt is actually a nickname. It's not a middle name. I get asked that a lot. It's actually a reference to my heritage. I am
The
a
Celtic.
60%, yeah, I'm 60% Scottish. I actually figured that out and traced my lineage back to Scotland.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of just a play on that. Um, I started crafting. It's almost been about 3 years now. Almost, yeah, I want to say close to 3 years now. I can tell you the story a little later on here about how I got into it
Yeah.
because it'll trail into it. But um, yeah, I mean,
But so about 3 years ago, you started with what? You were wanting to just crack a whip, or were you into the making side of things?
the making side of things. As for cracking a whip, I mean, I used to do that as a kid. In fact,
Yeah. I
there's
mean,
a
we are in
video.
Texas.
Right. There is a video somewhere out there on one of my old Facebook pages where I had to be in my teens, and it's a 13-second long video where I snapped spaghetti noodles twice, and then I grabbed this stick out of a chair and grabbed the chair all in 13
Oh my
seconds.
goodness,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. Didn't Wow, that would have been an amazing performance video or something
Someday I
similar
will
this
find
year.
that video again. I will find it again, and I'll share it with you. It's pretty intense video.
We'd all like to see that. Um, it is interesting though with this pandemic. I mean, how a lot of what we enjoyed doing with whip, at least I enjoy doing with whip cracking, is doing it with friends. How has that impacted what you enjoy with whips and whip cracking?
Well, I don't have too many friends in Texas that actually whip crack. There's a few. There is a few. I have a neighbor, in fact, that got into it. Two neighbors, actually. They're brothers that got into it shortly after I started making them, and they've been fun to teach how to do some
Right.
stuff with and everything, and now they've surpassed me. I mean, I'm a whip cracker, but I'm no professional by any means when it comes to whip cracking, and they've gotten fantastic at it. As for COVID doing its wonderful thing that it has done,
Hmm.
I say that very sarcastically, it has stopped a lot. It's even stopped a lot of my whip crafting progress as well. Uh, Got to have that money to buy the materials, and
That's true.
yeah, it's kind of
A lot of
hard to keep up with the material aspect of it.
Sure, sure. And I guess some of the orders and all help with that if you
Right, right.
have people paying you up front.
Right. That's actually typically how I have to do it most of the time these days is if somebody wants a whip, they contact me. They have to pay me up front so that way I can at least get the materials
Sure.
for it and get them ordered in and then go from there.
I wonder if that's a bigger problem for leather whip maker. Well, I guess I'm just assuming. Do you do leather as well as nylon, or are you
I
strictly?
do not. I have never touched that area. I want to. Don't get me wrong. Future times, you've encouraged me on that, actually, good sir.
I've tried my hand
I,
at it a little bit.
I remember when we first met, you were just starting to get into crafting, and then it seemed like a jump and a skip later, you're doing leather. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's doing great things
Ah, well,
here.
thanks. But I mean, you too. And in just a minute, I definitely want you to show off some of your work. You've got some incredible stuff that
I
you've been doing.
appreciate that. Appreciate that.
But yeah, it is interesting how this pandemic has influenced a lot of changes like that.
Yes.
Did you have you been to any of the LA WhipCons previously?
I have never been to a WhipCon. I was actually really, really hoping to go this year. This was going to be my first year, but
Ah, we're
unfortunately,
this close.
things happened. Yeah, that close, that close. Now, I have had the opportunity of meeting a few people though that
Hmm.
do go, and including Adam Winrich. Adam Winrich has told me a lot about it.
Cool.
Amazing guy, by the way.
Right, yeah.
He's taught me a lot. He's taught me a whole lot.
Yeah, he has his Renaissance fair kind of
Yes,
in between you and I.
yes, in Waxahachie.
Right.
Actually, I
Exactly.
actually got to meet him there. Well, the first time I actually ever met him was in Arizona, many years ago. Didn't know really who he was. Sorry, Adam. Didn't really know who he was at the time. But I got to meet him at the Arizona Renaissance Festival. God,
How cool is that?
shortly after I got out of high
Wow.
school. Yeah,
So yeah, your whip cracking fandom goes way back.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
not that far. You don't seem to be that old. But
Actually, I just turned
see,
35. I literally just turned
not
35
that long.
last week.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Um, so, but with this pandemic and not able to do things like go to the Renaissance Fair and see Adam,
Right.
did you participate in the video contest this year at all,
I
or
did
just
not.
kind of
I've been busy, to be honest with
sure,
you. It's been a very hectic experience on my end. Just trying to make ends meet,
sure?
so to speak.
Yeah, that's we're all having to double down on making
Yeah,
ends meet. What have you watched some of the other performances?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
any of those stood out?
Uh, Keith Smith. I mean,
His blooper
Kelt,
reel.
his blooper reel. I thoroughly love watching that man's
Yeah, me
videos. I get a kick out.
too.
I have him tuned to where the second he posts one, I'm on it watching it immediately.
That's great. Yeah, he actually has a question for you at the end of this interview. Let's save it for later.
I'm scared. I'm
Oh
scared,
no,
Keith.
I'll let that just hang in suspense. Um, so what do you think about this as this virtual competition versus? So I mean, as a outside observer,
Right.
previous years, I mean, you've had to watch it online too. This year, you're watching it online as a fan. So there is some similarities. Your inter,
Yes. Yes.
I mean, your the way that you watch it is right here, right?
Right.
So you just
Yeah.
right.
Exactly. Exactly like that one.
So what do you think? What is the difference for you this year?
Uh, uh, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been a lot of great videos that I myself have seen that have been contributed towards the competition itself, but definitely that person to person contact. That's one of the things that I personally have looked forward to attending my first WebCon is to actually getting to meet these guys that I watch on a
Yeah,
daily basis. People like Johnny Ogren and Peter Thorndike and Nick Schrader. I mean, even Keith Smith. I talk to that guy at least 2 to 3 times a day. Um, yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I would like, and you yourself, even though we're just kind of down the road from each other. Technically, we're both in Texas, but I mean, there's people I would like to meet in person. You just don't
Mhm.
get to have that full experience when it's
True,
virtual. You know.
true. One thing that if I could just jump in as well is that I kind of like better, if I were to say it, is that I had to wait until after the WhipCon was over last year. So every now and then I saw somebody post a selfie from a restaurant, and I
Yes.
was like, "Oh, look at all those guys together! Man, I'm missing
Looks
out,"
like a
and I feel
blast.
bad.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. I
then
know
you don't
that. I
see
get you.
anything for hours or even days, and then
Right,
somebody posts a compilation YouTube, and then you get a little taste of it. But this
right.
year, everybody's performances I'm able to see. Everybody's putting them on YouTube and stuff.
Yes. That's
Um,
that's a fair point
so
too. You get to see more of the process.
right.
Still, it's amazing
Oh
watching. It
yeah,
has to be.
I'm
You
I'm
know, you know.
I'm so looking forward to it. I'm just reaching for a silver lining somewhere.
Right, right.
It's got to be something. Um, what did you think about like with the double whip versus single whip versus the performance, or maybe they need some other categories?
I, I,
What did you think about those?
my, I think first of all, the pardon me, the categories that they have are great. I myself am just a single whipper. I'm not ambidextrous. You know, I can't do the two hand.
Yeah.
It amazes me when I see people doing that. I am two left hands when it comes to that. Um, but I would say maybe even just throwing it out there just to add for the conversation, age bracket groups. You know, you have your
Oh yeah.
younger, your
Mm-hmm.
middle, and then your older generations,
Sure.
and have the different age brackets. Because I mean, you're going to see guys out there that are in their prime, older teens, prime 20s. They're going to be sitting there doing Todd Rex stuff, and then there's a guy like me hitting near 40 that I would be out of breath just watching it.
Right, right. And then like my son actually submitted a video. He's 8 years old and
That's
he's just doing the
amazing.
cattleman's,
That's
but he was very proud
still,
of it.
absolutely. He
And
should
we
be. I wasn't doing
won one of
cattlemen's
the
back then.
raffles for it. I mean, so hey,
That's
it
awesome.
helped.
That's very awesome.
He was beyond stoked. So, but
That's actually
yeah.
one of the things about going into this craft for me is that has been very awesome. When I went into this craft was around this literally the same time, just shortly after my third child was born,
Hmm.
and she's now almost 3. And I got it was a little tiny, like 2.5, 3 foot whip that I got from JJ Hall when I ordered a pair of whips from him. And my 3-year-old, I'm gonna say that now, she's 3, has laid claim over that whip, and because she's watched me out in the front yard with a whip,
Aw.
she's now mimicking, and she's getting there. She actually popped her first whip.
What?
I'm sure it wasn't intentional. It wasn't like a
Are you telling
pull,
me
but
your
it's just her.
3-year-old broke the sound barrier? I know those
Right,
little guys are
she,
fast, but
right, right, but yeah, yeah, it was a little flop pop,
sure.
the hollow ones, not the real crisp, but it was a hollow pop. But definitely made me proud. I'm like, hey, she's on her way.
Absolutely. How cool is that? So tell me a little bit more about how you got into this. I mean, you had, yeah, I understand you have an interesting story on how you got from there to where you are now.
Yes. Um, uh, Basically, what happened is I had to have surgery on my hands,
Okay.
and I had double hand
Ouch.
surgery. It was only it was a just basically a scar tissuing. People know it as carpal tunnel.
Sure.
Um, During that surgery, my wife, like when I had that surgery, my wife was literally 3 days away from delivering a baby.
Ooh.
I had the surgery. 3 days later, she went into labor, and that was chaotic. But I'm a very close parent to my kids. You know, I'm not gonna not hold my baby, even if I had just had hand surgery or not. If my baby was born,
Right.
I'm holding that baby.
Good excuse
Um, Ended up
changing first, but
fair enough, fair enough. No, but I ended up damaging my hands bad
oh,
doing
oh
that
no.
and had to go back under the knife. When I had that done, came time to do physical therapy, and I kind of went into a slump where I didn't want to do it. You know, I just couldn't
Hmm.
get myself motivated. About Probably about 3 weeks after, I don't know, I'd say it's about 3, 4 weeks after giving up on the physical therapy idea, not getting anywhere on my hands. My hands were always just stuck like this all the time.
Ah, stuck.
And I came across a video on YouTube. Now, I had experience with whips before, cracking them. Indiana Jones fan to begin with. Grew up watching A Temple of Doom specifically as a kid, and ended up coming across a video where it was a how-to video, make a bull whip by Nick Schrader.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
I'm sure nobody's heard that name before.
No, especially if you watched last night. Yeah.
Right, right, right. But I watched that video and kind of got, hey man, that looks like that could be that could help. You got a lot of that tension pulling, so it's stretching your, stretches your hands out, and
Oh,
you know what I
I
mean.
see.
It helps you
Sure.
get, you got to grab, and it helps. It helped me build my
Wow.
hands back up. Basically, it helped me condition them back up. And almost 3 years later now, I've literally got all my strength back. I have all feeling in my hands, and it's something that I hold very close to me. Thank you, Nick Schrader.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a lot of help throughout this, advice-wise. Just to name a few, probably the top four people that has really helped me progress my craft would be Nick Schrader, Adam Winrich, Franco Zuccali,
Yep.
and Keith Smith. Keith Smith's been a huge
Wow.
encouragement. He started doing his videos around the same time I started crafting.
Okay.
So we kind of happened to find each other around that same time, and he's been a great encouragement to me. I mean, every time it's literally daily. Hey man, what ideas you have today? And I'll express, hey, I got this idea, and he'd be like, do it,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, all right, I want to do it, and it's great. It's great. Um, Franco, uh, Franco himself, he's been a very good advocate.
I mean, he runs the hook.
Anytime.
So
Yeah, yeah, he's a fantastic guy. If you've never had the opportunity to talk to the man, I recommend it. He is a fantastic gentleman.
I look
He's
forward to it.
very knowledgeable in the craft. Very knowledgeable. I even have one of his whips here next to me. It's one of my
Really?
favorite.
Wow.
Yes, it's
I'd
one of my
have
favorite whips that
to
I
show
own.
that off in a minute.
I definitely will. Definitely will. Um, Nick Schrader, of course, through his videos. I've had the opportunity of chatting with him a few different times, on Messenger and stuff like that. Also, wonderful guy. Wonderful guy. Who am I missing? Who did I miss?
Adam.
Oh, Adam, of course, Adam. Adam, I've talked to through Messenger a lot, and I've met him a few different times. In fact, there was a time where I took one of my whips. It gave me we started the idea, and it gave me a year to work on a whip to hone the craft. And I told him, I'm going to bring this whip to you. It's for you. I want you to just put me through the ringer, just tell me all the negative, I mean, nitpick it. Got it to him, and the man was honest, and because of it, I am a better crafter now.
Right.
Um, he taught me a lot about transition and a lot about the plating and how to like get it to look nice, like just even.
Right. Right.
He taught me about binding. He gave me a really good lesson on binding, about binding your handles and making sure it doesn't wiggle.
Oh, okay.
You don't want none of the wiggle from knot to
Around
knot.
around the mill or whatever.
Right, right. I mean, it's just, I owe a lot to those guys. I really do.
I think that's definitely. I'd like to know more about kind of where you've come to. What I'd like to know more about what your some of the work that you've done recently. Obviously, I'd love to see some of that,
Uh,
but also where you're
yeah.
going. Like what is it you're shooting for?
Um, Inevitably leather. I eventually want to get into leather. I really do. Pricey to get the tools and everything. It's going to be a slow process for myself. But I want to learn how to do more styles of whips. That's something that I kind of take pride in.
Hmm.
As it stands right now, I think I can do about 7 or 8 different styles. I want to do more. Especially like stock whips. Stock whips is a milestone for me. It's a challenging milestone for me, but I want to do it. And I know you've already done it.
Yeah,
I know
I've
you've
done
already done it.
got several back there.
Yeah,
I mean,
um,
Nick has a great video on that
he
too.
does. So
Yep.
does Adam. Adam has a good one too.
The one the
Infected.
Adam design. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Nick does. Yeah.
But so far as it stands, I've got a few ideas in motion. Another one I want to do is juggling whips. I
Yeah.
want to get going into the juggling side.
We can talk about
I've
that
got a
later
few different ideas for
too.
that. Yeah, yeah, and I got I got designs in my thoughts that I want to try to bring to reality. Another one would be, I want to try to delve more into creating a lightsaber style whip. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm a nerd by heart.
All right,
Uh,
cool. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Blake Bruning does a bunch of stuff similar to that.
Yes.
Yeah, he has
Yeah,
something
he
he
did.
calls a saber
Oh
whip. Yeah.
man, I saw a fantastic one he did. I think it was a Mace Windu, if I'm correct. I think it was a Mace Windu style lightsaber,
Was
and
it a
that
Keith
was
Smith
phenomenal.
birthday present
It
or
was
retirement present?
it was a Keith Smith
Yes.
retirement present. Yes. Yes,
Yeah, it's
yes.
purple. It was beautiful.
It was that was amazing. That was amazing work. I hope to be able to get to that. I want to get my own lathe and start doing wooden handles, and I
Right.
mean, that's the thing about whip crafting that I thoroughly love about it is that there's always something to learn.
There, yeah.
It's not one of those things that, oh, you've been doing this for 5 years. Oh, guess what? You know everything. No, you don't. You know, you don't. You've got many years of learning if you
Right.
want. You know,
So
there
where
are
do you
people.
consider yourself an expert right now? What are your expertise? What's your
Probably
favorite thing to make?
probably bulls.
Yeah?
Honestly, the bull whips. It's my first and it's my passion. It's gonna be that's gonna be one that even when I'm old and gray, I'm gonna still be trying to do bull whips. I love them. They are amazing
So
whip.
do you
Probably a
like to do the
close.
fancy plaiting or oh sorry,
Oh
a
no, no,
close
you're
second?
good. I was gonna say a close second would be performance hybrids at this point. I like doing the designs on the handles with
Oh,
paint. I like to paint the handles.
oh, cool.
Yes, yes. I have a
Yeah.
pair that I'll show here
Right.
in a
Yeah, go
minute
ahead,
too.
grab them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is as good a
Yes,
time
go
as
for it.
any.
All right. This one right here is an older model. This is actually one I made right before learning about a little bit more about the transitioning in the bullwhip, but it's still one that I still use today because I'm comfortable with
Okay.
it. But it's
Oh yeah.
I'll do a little.
Oh, it's a beautiful pattern.
Yeah. It's actually got four different, three or four different reds in it. I can't remember exactly. Three different reds in it, and they're just so close in shade. But if you look at it close, you can see the different shading, and in certain sunlights, you can see it change. It's something that I
Ooh,
like.
that's nice.
This is one of the last 12 foots I did.
Wow, 12 foot. That's a
12 foot.
that's a lot of
That's
braiding.
something that I've been delving more into is doing the 12s.
Ooh, look at the plaiting on that.
Yeah, it's that's the I believe it's called the Egyptian
I
eye.
think so.
It's either Egyptian eye or bird's eye. I think it's bird's eye.
Or-
Bird's eye? That's bird's eye.
I get them mixed up
I get
too.
them mixed up all the time. And then, I do the herringbone. I'm traditional with the herringbone myself. And then, but this right here is the performance hybrids. This is actually this is the very first set that I ever made of these.
Okay.
And I still have it.
Oh,
But
oh yeah, that's beautiful. Oh,
it's,
look at the paint on that.
yes,
Yeah,
that's what I like to do with these is I like to do the design on the painting on them. And then, of course, you got your herringbones that go down.
I like how you have the the theme kind of flow through it, including the paint.
Yes. Yeah, that's the kind of the my to put bluntly, my mom, she has been an artist
Hmm.
my whole life, even before, and she's kind of instilled a little bit of that in me. I want to try to have a little artistic flair all the time.
Yeah,
drives
Flair.
it drives my wife nuts sometimes. Drives her nuts. And then I
So
got a few here. Go
you
ahead.
feel
Go ahead.
like the you're able to express some of your artistic
Yes.
talent through these
Yes.
with
And
that flair.
yes, and I want to learn more. I want to learn even more. I want to delve more into the fancy plating. Like I got a great example of what I mean by JJ Hall. I'm sure some of y'all know who he is. A lot of y'all probably do. You might even remember the Assassin's Creed whips that he did a while
Those
back.
were beautiful. Yeah.
I ended up with
What?
a I am a
Does he know
diehard
this?
Assassin's Creed fan. Yes,
Okay.
he does know this.
Okay.
I even have the tattoo.
Wow, look at that.
But I ended up with his Assassin's Creed whips that
Look
he did, the stock
at
whips he did.
that.
And they are, I mean, when you see them on camera, they are beautiful, but there's no justice until you see them in person. I'm serious. There's just so much little details in this
When we
plating.
meet in person, I got to see those. Those are gorgeous
Absolutely.
too.
Absolutely. But I mean, I'm gonna try to showcase some of this. First of all, custom Assassin's Creed conchos I don't know how he did it or where he got them, but he's got little details. just in his work. Even on this leather piece right here, it's hard to see it. There is a embroidered or like a pressed Assassin's Creed symbol in it.
That's
You know, he's
awesome.
got this very, and we're talking micro cord right there.
Yeah.
And on this is like a skull and cross swords on it, and he's got the arrows going different directions here. I mean, and then you've got this. It's such fine, perfect, laid by itself wrapping. This is the kind of stuff that I look into when I look at whips.
Right.
And JJ, still to this day, phenomenal job on these ones. Phenomenal.
Those are gorgeous.
Every time I look at them, I'm like, they're amazing. They're amazing in my eyes. And then let's see here.
So, if you were to pick one detail out of that Assassin's Creed whip, what would be something that you want to try to tackle yourself? Something that'll scratch that artistic itch, and something that can actually be attainable, I guess, and something you feel like is within reach.
Uh, definitely the picturing, the like, how he's got on this. It's kind of hard to see
Oh,
on
it's
camera. Like I
yeah,
said, it's
I can see
it's
it.
skull and cross
It's
swords
amazing.
there, and then right here it's a falcon. I want to be able to do stuff like that. That's where you can actually create stuff. In fact, I know I'm going a little fast here. One of the most inspirational ones that I've seen, I think, was Peter Thorndike. I've never seen it in person, but anybody that's watching, please correct me if I'm wrong. Um, Archer hunting a stag, I want to say, and it was all done in plating on the handle. And you see an archer drawing the
Okay.
bow, and then you see the arrow, and then you see the stag at the other end of the handle.
Oh,
And
wow.
I want to say it was Peter
Sounds
Thorndike
like
that
something
did
he would
that, and I
do.
want to say it was like a godly ridiculous amount of plating. Oh, I can't remember the number, but it's definitely in the hundreds. It's the handle was done like I want to say I don't know. Somebody get that information to me. I can't remember exactly the number of plating on it, but
I mean, he did the Man from Snowy River.
yeah, that was
That was a
yes,
72 plat, and then he did an 84 plat. I just switched over to his website. And I don't see, there's like a horse and stuff on there. I don't see an arrow, but it doesn't have a ton of pictures about it.
right.
But yeah, I mean, that's aggressive. That's
Yeah,
more than I've ever done.
I
Wow.
I want to be able to do the higher plate counts because the higher the plate count, the more you have to play with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, really cool. And I think part of it is when I was talking to EF Whips, uh, efwhips.com or kangaroo.whips.com the other day. He was talking about how it's like 1.5 or 1.4 millimeters wide, and then having to split those down to be the right thickness, and then having to pair the corners on something so tiny, and how when he was doing competitions that he didn't place first because one strand was just like a quarter of a millimeter narrower than the other ones next to it, and
That would be
that
that it's the meticulousness of it. It's I think I could feel that. If I was
Evans
in that
Online.
situation,
There you go. Yeah, correct us if we're right. He says, "Do not think it was Peter. Maybe Chris Barr."
might be
Okay,
Chris Barr. Okay. Uh,
thank you, Evan. I'm
Thank you.
still stunned
Appreciate
by your
that.
work, by the way.
Yeah,
It was an
you
honor to
do
talk to you the other day.
phenomenal. You do phenomenal work, Evan. I am a fan. I am absolutely a fan.
So let me see some more of. You have any others of that you want to show off? I'm loving this and seeing your work.
Well, I've got most of my whips that I've worked on recently have been for customers and been shipped out.
Right. Such
The ones that I'll be
such is
showing
a problem
tonight.
with our.
Right, right. The ones I've been showing tonight are other people, and the first ones I showed are some of my previous works that I've done over the years. Actually, I got one more here next to me that I didn't show, but this is one that I made for my wife. I want to
Ooh.
say about a year and a half into making whips.
Okay.
I was still very, very new. I still am very, very new, but I was still very, very, very new when I made this one. My wife and I are both 80s kids,
Okay.
so I made her a 80s themed
Nice. Got a tie
colored,
dye.
yeah, that classic neon color with gray background.
Right.
And
Oh
then, I, and I have a very significant honorable mention. This one here is not one that I've done, but it is by far one of my favorite whips that I own. And I feel like he 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 doesn't have a lot of recognition, and he should. He really, really should. And that's Franco Zuccali. I've got a whip from him, and I love this thing. I mean, the action on this whip is it's it's unspeakable. It's so good. It's that good. It's also even the first one I got the stamp on it. He recently got a stamp to start marking his whips, and I got the first one.
Oh,
But
nice.
I mean, look at how I mean you can see the light just shining off of that. And it's
Oh
just
yeah,
it's
the
that
lacquer on there and all.
yeah. And I mean
Look
there's
at
the transition
that.
on it. Yeah.
Oh my
Oh, I
goodness.
love it. I mean, you can see that curl just wants to go. It's
Practically
I
corrects
love this
itself.
whip. It does. There's very minimal effort. Literally just pow. You know, there's no muscling. There's nothing. There's no effort
Good
needed
job, Franco.
if you want to pop this thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. It's by far one of my most favorite that I've owned.
Wow.
And
Definitely want to try that one of these days too.
very
Cool.
smart, very smart man in the field of whips. He has given me countless hours of advice. Just being able to read, I can approach him and just, hey, Franco, this is what happened. There's even been times where he's approached me and said, hey, you know, this is my advice to you on that. And it's helped me a lot. It's helped me tremendously.
Right. And it seems like with Franco specifically, not to get too far off topic though, I mean he's helped a lot of people,
Yes.
and not just one on one, but I mean he runs, if you
The
guys
whip maker's
aren't a
hook.
member, the Whip Makers
Yeah.
Hook Facebook group.
Yeah.
If you are not a member of that and you have any interest at all in whips, you should be.
The whip
Uh,
maker's hook.
the Whip Makers Hook, exactly, which is awesome.
And
So
it right away too when I joined the or I joined the hook within my first year of crafting, and immediately, I mean, that's one thing about the whip community that I'm saying to all of you out there. I'm sure a lot of you know my name from me posting on and everything. And I know a lot of you guys, I pay close attention to your craft. There's some very phenomenal crafters out there, and keep up the good work.
yeah,
And keep that heart open too, because when I came into this craft, I was in a very, very dark spot. You know, I'd lost my use of my hands basically, and I had reached a point in my life where just I needed something, and I joined the whip makers community, starting with the hook, and met a lot of amazing people that have been very, very, very awesome people for me. And I appreciate all of you. You guys all know who you are.
right. That's really beautiful, and I think it shows that we can all help each other in more ways than you might
Absolutely.
expect. And honestly, that's, I mean, it's certainly not what I intended with these crazy little silly interviews, but bringing the community together, I think, is really
And
important.
don't say
And I'm
they're
hope.
silly. I'm sorry to
Oh,
interrupt you. Don't say they're silly interviews. They're not. This was a fantastic idea.
oh, yours is very serious. Maybe the other ones.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, it really has been an honor to talk to you. And but before we end this, I do have a very serious question.
Okay.
Keith sent it over, like I mentioned earlier.
Oh God.
He said it was super important.
Okay.
Now, are you ready? He
I think
says,
I think
Original trilogy or the prequels? Okay,
original. Hello.
you passed. You're good.
All right. All right. Better
No,
yet, should I say what prequels?
right, there you go. No, thank you again,
No,
and
thank
it has
you.
been an honor to talk to you. You do amazing work.
I
You have
appreciate
helped
that.
me. You've spent my first performance hybrid I was very frustrated with, and you helped me quite a bit. So thank you very
Well,
much once
I'm
again.
glad. I'm glad. I'm very glad that helped you. Anytime, anytime.
Absolutely. And I definitely want to hang out with you in the future when COVID is over and behind us,
Definitely.
and we're safe to do so.
I want
But
to.
you have
I
a
can't
great
wait to meet you in
evening.
person.
Oh, Yes,
I was
sir.
just, yeah, I just
Absolutely.
can't wait. I can't wait to meet you in person. And you have a great evening too.
Thank you very much. Everyone, you have a great day.